very vividly. My parents still live in Pasadena. They live about a mile south of Eaton Canyon. And I live in Monrovia, and the power went out in my apartment, and so I decided to evacuate and go to my parents' home. And on the way there, I saw the Eaton fire start. It had just ignited. And so within hours, the entire city was engulfed in flames. I have one cousin who lives in Altadena who lost his home, and I have countless family members and cousins who were in the mandatory evacuation zone, who now live in the impacted zone that Anita was just talking about. And so, for us at PSR-LA, climate change is a public health crisis. And what happened January 7th, and living through that and hearing the countless stories of families within the Armenian community and within the Altadena community who had lost their homes, really made the issue of climate change and my work on ending neighborhood oil drilling personal, because now it had reached my community, right? I grew up hiking in Eaton Canyon. It was my backyard, it was my playground. 2 months later, going and actually driving through Altadena, it was in fact a war zone. It was like a bomb had gone off, right? So nobody is immune. Everybody is being impacted by climate change. And our approach at Physicians for Social Responsibility is really ensuring that we're looking at root causes, right? We know that fossil fuels, burning fossil fuels, the consumption of fossil fuels is exacerbating climate impacts. And we know that frontline communities, environmental justice, low-income communities of color bear a disproportionate burden of those climate impacts. And so we're also a steering committee member of STAND-LA, Stand Together Against Neighborhood Drilling, who is an environmental justice coalition working to end oil drilling in the city of Los Angeles and in LA County. Sherry and Ronnie and Daryl have been longtime supporters. Wendy for the last 13, 14 years, as we've actively been campaigning to end the toxic practice of oil drilling in the city of Los Angeles. And we made some big wins a couple years ago, but the oil industry came back, sued the city, and unfortunately the ordinance that we passed was overturned. But we will not fight, we will not stop the fight until we end oil drilling. And so the climate crisis on a global scale is harming everyone, and it's harming Californians especially more than ever before. We heard about the wildfires that happened last year. Extreme heat is also a huge climate event that happens every year, increasingly every year. I know as SoCal residents, you all know and can experience that firsthand, that it's getting worse, right? And we're seeing more asthma attacks, premature births, heart and lung disease, heat deaths, mental health problems from wildfire smoke. A lot of our members are physicians, and they have firsthand accounts of how their patients are being impacted. And we hear from them that they are not equipped with the tools to be able to make the associations of a community member having an asthma attack because they live next to an oil drilling site, or be able to address all of the patients coming in because they're experiencing a heat stroke or other impacts because of extreme heat events. They're not taught this in their curriculum in med school. And so what we try to do is really uplift the social determinants of health and provide that education to physicians and to med students so that they can then advocate on behalf of their patients. As I mentioned, fossil fuel pollution from burning oil and gas is the root cause of these worsening health outcomes. We fundamentally believe that we need to hold big oil accountable for the damages that they are causing and have caused for many, many, many decades. We cannot wait another 1 or 2 generations where communities are continuing to be poisoned next to fossil fuel infrastructure. And also, we cannot wait any longer because the state is not ready to deal with these impacts. We're hearing it from Anita, we've heard it from many of the speakers up here. There was such a mismanagement in terms of how the state handled the aftermath of the wildfires. We are not ready for what is yet to come, and what happened last year in LA is really a testament to that. And so the polluter pay bill is one step, it's one way that we can actually begin to hold the polluters accountable. So we heard a lot about the health impacts already, directly from Anita, from Brian. We know that wildfire smoke is toxic. It wasn't a forest fire, this was an urban fire, right? We know that a lot of the modern homes use different types of building materials that are made from plastic, PVC, polyvinyl chloride. That is made of petrochemicals, that is made of fossil fuels. So the homes were burning faster, they were burning quicker and more intensity, right? And that is actually factually shown. This isn't normal, right? And so we need to take action, we need to do more. Communities right now already bear a huge cost of health costs associated with living near fossil fuel infrastructure. And we're also seeing that there are health costs associated from experiencing climate impacts like wildfire smoke and extreme heat. And a recent study from UCLA estimated that more than 52,000 premature deaths in California was related to the wildfire smoke over a 10-year period. We also know that that would amount to over $430 billion in economic costs, and that's just over the last 10 years. California's insurance commissioner also found that costs of nearly $5 billion associated with the health impacts of just 7 extreme heat events. We probably experience that on a yearly basis, right? Living in Southern California. So really appreciate you all being out here. Our orientation to the work is really uplifting frontline environmental justice and impacted communities. And that's where we need to start. That's where the solutions lie. And the polluter pay bill is one step in getting us to a future where all communities can thrive, where everyone has the right to breathe clean air and live in safe and resilient communities. So thank you.